Greetings, I am Tantus Naraman Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to talk about some more anime reviews in BESM. This time, we're going to bring in the BESM side of things, where I'm going to take these animes I talked about in the last episode and introduce you to how you can use these worlds in your BESM games, how you can adapt them a little bit. Again, all these worlds, all these things, it's probably going to take you a little bit of work to adapt. Whenever you make a game, it takes some work. You're going to have to come up with something. But these are some easy starting points for you to think about, especially for character building, for the skills they might use, and for suggestions to help make things more interesting. So let's talk about Sailor Moon Crystal. Now, in this one, you're going to want to use a lot of character points. I'm going to recommend something like 500 character points. At this point in the series, they've unlocked a lot of their abilities, and 500 points is around the area where they suggest a magical girl with a lot of unlocked abilities would be at. The thing is, they can probably get some more points still, but I'd recommend this as a great starting point, especially in this game, because they're very powerful. And the thing is, you might also want to, if you wish to, start it out rather like towards the beginning of the season, rather towards the middle of the season where they hit 500. I would say maybe you want to start them out maybe between 350, 400, and you can give them a sort of upgrade in it, because all of them get upgrades in this season to a degree, but they have most of their abilities unlocked. So it's your kind of call. I'd recommend the 500 we start out with it. So after you've made your characters, then we talk about the kind of world setting you're going to be doing, and what are you going to do with these characters. Now, you could easily mimic the actual main characters themselves. You can make versions of the Sailor Senji all you want. That's your choice. Or you could do for other things. You could make it that they're soldiers based on the moons, on famous asteroids in the solar system. You could come up with they're like a minor team or something, part of the main plot. Whichever you want to do, you could sort of develop this sort of plot line and work it into the major plot line as much as you want. You could base it more on the original anime series, bringing a little bit of that in sort of Monster of the Week stuff in to expand your game a little bit more. It's up to you. Again, as I said, I enjoyed this sort of centralized point that it is here. So, I mean, I would use more of that anyway, more of the actual Crystal season. So next, let's talk about ReZero. Now, ReZero, I would actually split it up into two. Now, there is, again, as I said before, there's going to be little spoilers. The people with a lot of magical power actually in themselves can realize that people time travel. They realize that Subaru times travels. Our main girl does it because she manipulates spirits. That's the thing that makes her not be able to recognize it. In this series, I would split the team up to at least one or two people have the ability to sort of jump back in time, and the rest of the people are magic-based people that have spells and stuff like that, so they would recognize that the people are jumping back in time. They sort of kind of remember that it happened, but not quite remember that it happens. They have like a weird familiarity with him, that they realize what's going on without actually being involved with what's going on. That sort of thing. And you'd recognize that as magical characters. In this way, we can have the entire team kind of know what's going on. Now, I would split up the points. I would give 300 points to the magical people, and about like 200 points, maybe 250, to the time sort of skipping people, the time jumping people. And then I design a power that's between 50 and 100 points, that if it's one person, they're the only one doing the jumping, while if it's two people, it's if one of them dies, they both go back sort of thing. Is like, oh, their lives are connected together and doing this, just to add it in. And then you can set it in this fantasy setting all you want. I try to avoid the generalized main storyline and come up with your own, but you can definitely use this sort of fantasy setting. It establishes a lot of stuff. It establishes things with the right of succession to the king. Maybe get involved with someone else that's involved with that. That would be an NPC character that you're trying to help out. Invent your own NPC characters. You can base them around on other characters from the anime, but adapt them in a way that's your own game system. Because you're going to want to do that with this one. It's going to be wanting to be a little more customized. And as I said, you're going to be splitting your team between these two groups of people, and that's why they can continually interact. Because if the time skips back because one of them dies, then everybody has another chance of doing it again. And it would be very interesting that you can sort of replay the days and add in little different details, that you can come up with like decisions that if people do certain things, it's going to be just a little differently. And have them be vastly different. You don't have just like, oh, instead of going right here, I went left. Have it completely different. Have it change a lot so that maybe it's not going to be as easy to get that best outcome in even the second time or the third time. Make it a little bit of a challenge that, they're not going to have to be hitting it over the head. but maybe they'll have to go back 2 or 3 times to do the same thing in a different way in order to get the best result. So the last one I'm going to talk about is Space Police Luluco. So Space Police Luluco, you're going to want between 200 and 250 points for your characters. You're going to make them Space Police Patrol Officers. You probably want to make them school students in some way. Now Luluco is younger, she's in the middle school, but I would recommend maybe if you're going to do that, go the high school route. I mean, unfortunately a lot of our audiences, it's whatever you think would be appropriate to your group of people. If you think they could act like decent middle schoolers, then make them middle schoolers. If you think they could act with better high schoolers, make them high schoolers. If you think they have no maturity level whatsoever and you want to control them a little bit, put them in college. That's basically what I'm going to say about that. And you're going to make it sort of this, that they're patrolling an alien world. Don't take it too seriously. When they're designing their thing, you're giving them so many points because they're going to design their sort of like police suits and their sort of weapon transformations and that kind of thing, and weapon abilities that they get as police officers, and they're going to spend a lot of their points on that. Other than that, they're going to sort of be normal people. So you're going to want to look at their skills and their abilities other than their police gear to be geared towards what a normal person's point values would be. And then at that point in time, you're going to send them to do like patrol things you're most likely, you want to have them still in that school aspect. So maybe they're taking care of problems at school. They're dealing with aliens. One of them could be an alien if you wanted to, that they could come up with a humanoid alien race to play as. That's very fine. They don't necessarily have to play human. Then they might have slightly different abilities. Maybe they would sacrifice some of their gear and weapon points to be an alien race that has slightly different powers than a normal human. And as I said, then you're doing like things at school, you're going to do it, be very episodic, be very, come up with adventures that are on the shorter side, I would recommend. If you want to come up with an overarching plot, there is slightly one to the anime. It sort of has kind of gone on from episode to episode to episode, with the city being taken, lost in space, then finding out that like it's been taken over by bad guys, and the stuff that's going on with Luluco in the anime. Luluco. It just means that when you're choosing your storyline, you can do an overarching plot, but I would try to keep away from a little bit of the anime one. But again, I always also add this like level of kind of comedy to the game, because you're going to want to do that. It's going to be a non-serious sci-fi game. That's a good way of saying it. You're going to be playing a non-serious sci-fi game. Alright, so those are the 3 anime. I've given you my BESM suggestions about them. I've given you a little bit of information on how to run them, and how to make characters and stuff like that in them. So if you liked this video, please leave a like. If you have any questions, comments, things you want to say about this, things you want to say about anything, leave them in the comments below. Please subscribe if you already haven't. It's a good way of showing your support by becoming a member of the Empire. We're always looking for more. Share this video if you think of anybody that could use it or help from it or would want to see it anyway. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.